This morning I woke up at like 8:30, which seemed really early to wake up. And there's a lot of things that I want to do, but I never really want to get out of bed. And like bed in the morning just feels so comfortable. And so a lot of times I'll go back to bed and have this feeling like I'm gonna lay here and have ideas and try and figure out like what I actually want to do. And I did, and today it was 8:30, now it's 10, and I feel like I had a lot of ideas, which I usually do, but sometimes they kind of drift away, but I want to try and remember them. So I have a few goals for myself. One is that I want to start my own business. 2 is that I want to live a healthier lifestyle in the way that I eat, in the way that I spend my time, in the way that I take care of myself. And 3, I want to start sharing more. And 4, I want to connect with people on a more regular basis. And 5, I want to continue learning about things that matter to me, about the way the world works, about the way humans work and our minds work. And I think, so as I was thinking about that, I didn't really know where to start. But it occurred to me that I could start by documenting and experimenting. So this is one of those documents and experiments. Oftentimes I try and make things perfect, and I really like to present my best foot forward and to really think things through almost too much sometimes, to a fault where I never actually let anything go or out into the world. And so this is me attempting to just be raw and real. It's something that I value and so very much appreciate people who are real. And I find that it doesn't matter to me if their things aren't perfect. And I realize to most, if people really care, the substance is what matters more. And there's this quality factor, of course, but I think the content is the substance is really what matters. And I'm also learning that my skills will develop the more I just do. So, but I can't start doing if I want it to be perfect all the time. So this is me just starting to do. Now the next challenge is going to be to publish this. I don't know why that part makes me so. I'm just gonna say it's gonna be great. I'm gonna publish it, and yeah. I have a lot of thoughts, and I analyze things, and I try and make sense of things in the world and connect all these dots, and I spend a lot of time up in my head and not a lot of time talking about it. but I want to get to a place where I can articulate my thoughts a little bit better. And when it swirls around in my head, it's just all thoughts don't work in a way that you have to articulate them in the same way. Thoughts work in this way where they're all kind of floating around, and it's more impressions. But to be able to explain those to another person, you need to be able to have words. And I find that sometimes when I want to explain my thoughts, I don't have the words. Or sometimes I don't know where to start, how much context to provide. But most things we're uncomfortable with, or that we're not good at, is just because we're out of practice. Practice makes it easier, better, all that. So, I guess this is a first step in practicing. Woohoo! I also figured, since I really don't like to get out of bed, that instead of just laying here with ideas, I would lay here and try and talk out some of those ideas. Talk out what's going on in my head. I really do want to start taking action, and I've been doing little baby steps, but now, I don't know, this is the real deal. I actually had a few very specific things I thought of earlier. Let me see if I can remember them. It was definitely documenting. I want to build my website, like a website, just to have stuff on, content on. Not just any stuff, but to have a legit start and something I can point people to when they ask what I do. A hub for the things that I do. But I did have some ideas for the actual early content. Yeah, the only thing about having ideas while laying in bed is oftentimes kind of drift off into dream world, and I know that I'm thinking about it and having ideas, but sometimes when I come back to full wakeness, I do not remember all of it. So that's the only downfall of this method. So so I remember just now that there's a lot of different things that I work on and I'm interested in. I write a lot. Writing is how I usually try and articulate my ideas. If I'm trying to work through something, or even if I feel inspired or am feeling emotions, I'll write. Sometimes it's in the form of poetry or journal, but that never gets shared either. But the thought I had was this: I guess the things that I like to do feel so separate. I'm also trying to live this better lifestyle and actually start exercising on a daily basis and eating food that I cook every day. But that's going to the grocery store and really being mindful of ingredients, which means mostly buying produce, and that's in trying to find organic options, but then also really wondering, well, like, okay, where does this come from? How does this plant grow? What does organic, what are the qualifications of organic? So in each subject, there's all these questions as well. So it's kind of a documenting of those, first off, the lifestyle changes, but second off, the concept changes, like the questions, the curiosity, like everything that goes into then making those decisions. And it's a constantly evolving process because there's so much to know about everything. Like, just asking one question can lead to so many more questions. And I think it would be good to be able to start sharing those. I mean, if I'm going down this rabbit hole, maybe someone else will, and I can save them some time and energy or something. Or maybe they can ask some questions that I maybe hadn't thought of, or could put our brains together to come up with more and better solutions. I don't know, I think collaboration is really important, and I can't really collaborate if I'm not open about the ideas that I have in the first place, or if no one knows that I'm working on it. It's hard to find, like, it's difficult in daily life to find people who care about similar things, but like the power of the internet allows for that in this very unique and beautiful way, where people who are on similar journeys can find each other and support each other and like help along that journey. And like, I'm one brain, but if we can put 2 brains or 3 brains or 10 brains together, the amount of discussion and perspective and insight that can come from all our diverse knowledge and our perspectives could really like help us advance more quickly as individuals and like on a societal level. So that's something I'm actually really passionate about and want to pursue, and that's in the realm of, you know, food and lifestyle, and also like mental health, understanding why humans are the way that they are. I feel like in American society we don't really talk about feelings a lot, and we don't really talk about mental health, and I think that the way we grow up is a lot more, even now, like the family structure, I feel like, I mean, I'm living in a city now, so I see it a lot here too, but I feel like the family structure isn't quite what it used to be, and maybe not that, like, what it is in other countries, but I feel like our family units are a little bit isolated from the extended families, and I know there's some people that still live very close to, like, your grandparents, great-grandparents, but that's not how I grew up. And I feel like that had a lot of implications, and so understanding what's so important about that, what I missed from that, and how that affected me, just in terms of like human development and societal development. And the societal development is what I'm actually really interested in, because I think that, like, I just grew up with my immediate family where my grandparents live like hundreds, if not 1,000 miles away, so we would see them a couple times a year, but all of my extended family also lived elsewhere, so I just grew up with my like immediate family unit. But what I'm realizing now that I'm getting older is that no one really knows what they're doing. We're all trying to just figure it out. And like, now that I have friends who have kids, it's like my parents did the best that they could, and but the benefit of having like older generation, or like more people around, even if it were like aunts and uncles or cousins or whatever, it's like each of the experiences are different. They're similar enough, like there's common themes, right? There's a theme of raising kids, but there's also the theme of like maintaining your sense of self while also taking care of kids. Or there's this concept of like maintaining a relationship while having kids. Or there's this whole like before and after factor. And there's this like how to still have a social life when you have a family. Like there's all of these things, or like what kind of boundaries are important to have with your kids, or what, like, at what age do I need to start letting go and letting them be a more independent person. And I feel like grandparents have been through the whole process and have the benefit of hindsight to be able to really guide and be like this support system for parents. But not only that, but they're this presence for kids to start having a wider understanding earlier of the things that matter. And they can also be this sort of buffer between a relationship that's so close sometimes. Like sometimes it's difficult to talk to parents about things, but grandparents might be a little bit more understanding or have something different to say because they've lived so much longer. And I've realized in my own life the benefit of hindsight, and like they have so much of that. Like if I've learned so much from hindsight at this point in my life, I can't imagine the amount that they've seen, and they've had friends who have experienced things, and it's not just their own lives, it's lives of those around them that they've communicated with and learned from and have added to their own perspective. And I think the broader our worldview can be, the healthier we as humans can be, because there's so many different ways to live, so many different things that happen to us, so many different ways of coping with them. And I feel sometimes we feel very alone and like we don't know what to do. And the times I start to feel better when I find people who are feeling the same way, and that I realize like I'm not alone and it is okay, and like I always have hope for them, which then gives me hope for myself. And oftentimes, like, if, like, first off, the huge part is being able to talk about real things, like the things that are really happening in life. Because I find in life a lot of times we ask each other a lot, how's it going? How are you doing? And the answer is usually fine. Fine. Things are going well. Like, we just hit the highlights. But because I do something similar, or had for a long time, I can recognize when other people are also just providing lip service or being like polite. There's like a certain expression or a certain tone used, or there's some giveaway. Usually I can tell when someone isn't actually fine, but they're saying that they are. Maybe a lot of people can, but I've tried to make it a point to really ask that person how they're really doing. And that, I think, is a thing that does not happen very often. But doing that alone has led to some of the closest relationships in my life up to this point. This openness, this honesty, I feel so often we feel it's almost impolite to share the internal struggles that we're having, the things that we're going through. And I know I tended to isolate myself, and that's why I'd written so much. I didn't really tell anyone what was happening, and it had to go somewhere. Otherwise, it was just rolling around in my head. So I would write, and I would listen to music, and through listening to music, like, I would listen to music in a way where I would listen to like radio and then radio based on like a song I liked or an artist I liked, and then I would collect, like, I just listened to music in the background, and every once in a while a song would really strike me. I wouldn't know why, but either I'd be singing along to it or it would just like strike me, so I would like it, and then it would go in my liked library. And after months of doing this, I started listening to my liked library once it got large enough, and all these themes started to emerge and come into focus. And it was those songs, when put together, articulated for me what I was feeling in my life more than I could. I don't think until the moment that I listened to all those songs together did I really realize what I was feeling inside. And those songs were the voice to all that clutter, to all those swirling thoughts in my mind. In my mind, they felt like all these different isolated things. But when they were brought together under the umbrella of music, it was these themes that were emerging. And it was in this music, listening to the lyrics and the themes, that I knew why I felt the way I felt. And it's in that I would listen to it over and over and feel finally understood. But not by others, by myself. Because for a long time I didn't know what was wrong, why I was feeling. I used to feel very happy, and then there was this time where I just felt very off, and I didn't know what was so off. Was it me? Was it whatever? But the music gave words to all of that. But had I been more open with people, they might have been able to shed light on that even sooner than the months it took for me to compile these songs and whatever else. And also, like, having regular communication with people about real subjects that were going on in life, it might not have built up so much and affected me in this way that I felt this just sense of being so off course. I think communicating with people and having a strong support system keeps from those extremes. We can course correct along the way. It takes openness, it takes understanding, and it takes a mutual respect or love towards one another, like a mutual, like a really a sense of caring for each other. And I feel like that is something that came inherent in these family structures of where grandparents and aunt and uncles are all still close, but also like a close-knit society. You know, we used to live in villages and used to have this sense of closeness, and maybe some people still do now. Like, there could be people that live in that way, but it's not how I grew up. And I know there's other people like me who grew up in this way where we didn't have these strong bonds and support structures. And I'm realizing how important that is in my own going through life. I've spent it. I've always had a friend or two that I've been really close to. But usually they're my age and they don't know what to do about any of the things that are happening. Things that I'm feeling. I mean, they're there and they listen. Sometimes I've had adults that I've shared it with, and sometimes they don't even know. But I think we're brought up. I think we don't know how to we don't know how to. I want to learn what it looks like to have a healthy, like the healthiest lifestyle, the optimal elements for human fulfillment. Because I feel it's possible and attainable. It feels like there's this recipe that if we figure out the components can be that. And I think if we can learn that recipe, we can take the lives of people and compare it to the recipe. If they're not feeling fulfilled yet, we can take that recipe and say, oh, you need more of this ingredient. Oh, let's offset that ingredient with this. Oh, let's add a dash of this, dash of that. Take out some of this. Not really take out, maybe just offset it. Balance it. I have this whole imagery in my mind of this balancing act. It's like if we can find the recipe and we can take where anyone is at and find the proportions of each element that need to be balanced. That feels possible. We do it in the physical world all the time. But it's this beginning to talk, period. Having real conversation about the real things that are happening in our minds and going on in our lives. Learning how to manage our own thoughts and emotions. Learning how to interact with the thoughts and emotions of others. Learning how to separate ourselves from the thoughts and emotions of others and really have trust in our own. And a continual building of our own emotional intelligence and taking responsibility for our own well-being. And to do that, we have to ask questions. We have to be curious. We have to be willing to experiment. And that's where I'm at right now. I was feeling off track. It's just this innate thing inside where I felt so off, just off. Not myself, like I wasn't in the right place, like I wasn't doing the right thing. Like I wasn't me. And since has been this journey, this experimentation of, well, how do I get to the feeling of fulfillment. I don't know if happy is even the word, but a sense of being my true self, fulfilling my true purpose, making a difference. But I realized that in order for any of those latter things to happen, I need to really understand myself. Understand why I do the things I do. Why the things I do matter to me. It's important to understand them, to understand where they're coming from. If they're a coping mechanism, if they're making up for something that's lacking, or if they're pure. What I want to get to is that purity. I don't want something tainted by fears, insecurities, lack. I want the pure momentum, energy, passion. The pure essence of what is me. So that's what I'm after. And that's the part I want to share. That journey. Because if others are on this journey, maybe you can help me see things I have not yet seen for myself. Maybe I can help you. We can't help each other if we don't share. This feels to me like the ultimate life mission. I think for a long time I was caught up in like, what career should I have? Where should I live? All these surface things. And initially how I tried to address all these was dealing with all those surface things. I would move, I would change careers. And I realized those things didn't make me feel any better, any different. So it's something deeper. So I'm diving to the depths to find it. I know it's there. It's just a matter of finding it. But I don't think it's one place. It's almost like a puzzle. Or like an uncovering. It's like all of these separate things that seem separate but make a whole. I'll have to think of a good analogy for that. I like analogies. It's kind of difficult to know how to document this kind of thing, though. I think that's why I haven't been I don't know how to document in a way that can be followed, but I'm gonna try just sharing It started with a journal, then it went to music. That was more the discovering of myself, that what I was doing wasn't working. And then there was the trying to figure out what does work. That came in the form of books, thought, self-analysis, so much self-analysis, studying, and trying to apply different things to my life, seeing what worked, what didn't. I guess it's all tangible. I mean, I did it, so I'm doing it. Do I share where I'm at now? Like, do I just start with now, or do you need the backstory too? Maybe I'll start with now. And if you're watching and want the backstory, then ask, and I'll share. But for now, I'm going to keep moving forward. I think that that's the best course of action. Sometimes I get stuck moving backward, like reevaluating the past, but I'm already at this place, and there's a lot of things that, coulda, shoulda, woulda, but didn't know it then. That's the hindsight is something in that way, very bittersweet. But I think maybe documenting the journey from here is where I'll start. I'm really going to spend the next, I would say, month really, really trying to hone in on this sharing, this documenting of this journey. And I think I'm going to try a lot of different methods and see what is the best way to get these thoughts and discoveries across. Also the research and the thought processes and everything. Like it's been hard because it seems so it's so personal, but it's also so it's all stuff that's happening in the mind, in the psyche, and translating that into the real world, into something tangible, is going to be an interesting challenge. And I think I haven't really known where to start, so I haven't. But then I've just not been sharing, and this feels really important. Soap. Oh, I just realized my thumb's been over part of the camera. Sorry. Yeah, I'm gonna get up now, and I'll probably document more of what I'm gonna be doing. I shouldn't say probably, I will. Here we go. Are you ready to go on this journey adventure? Alright, let's do it.